My name is Nancy Buka, and I'm an assistant professor at the Graduate School of Media and Communications at Kenyan University. Okay, so this week, as part of our conversation at the Graduate School of Media, we are looking at the just concluded Supreme Court ruling in Kenya, where the court nullified the presidential election. And I'd just like to say that this is the first time that this has happened in the African continent, and for media as well. This is the first time that they covered a presidential election petition, and of course the attendant ruling and the sittings that came with that. Focusing on what the media did well, I think we must give credit to the Kenyan media for being there to cover the filing of the petition, the receiving of the documents. This happened late at night, and they sat at the Supreme Court waiting for this to be done, and they were able to bring us those reports as they happened. They were also able to report live the proceedings and the submissions from different lawyers representing different respondents to the petition, and of course the petitioner's point of view. So that in itself is a good step that I think as a country we appreciate the fact that it's important to provide that information, and live coverage is one of the things that is highly commendable, because then people are able to receive that news as it happens, and that then reduces the fake news and the speculation where that information is not forthcoming. So investing in technology to be able to do that, investing in human resource to be able to be at the courts, because most of these sittings went on for long hours, is something that's commendable, and I think we need to appreciate the Kenyan media for enabling the rest of the people who are within the country or even outside to be able to follow the proceedings as they happened, and in themselves then see why the ruling was made the way that it was made, because then they are privy to the information and they can follow the proceedings. One, as I said, that this was a learning curve for the Kenyan media, because we have never been in a situation where we've had to cover a petition to a presidential election, and of course the subsequent ruling that goes with it. And part of the challenge is that even as we prepared the guidelines and trained various journalists on coverage of elections, there was no focus on on court reporting. And the challenge, therefore, is that beyond the live coverage of the Supreme Court proceedings, there was very little effort to try and break it down, for the local person. But there was a lot of legalese throughout that process. There were lots of legal terms that needed to have been broken down for us to understand. There was a lot of reference to the Constitution and certain articles to the Constitution, to the Elections Act and to the Election Offences Act, which many are not privy to. And so when when submissions are made and there's a lot of reference to those documents, then a number of people get lost, because it's not your everyday document that you go and read. And that is something that that should have been done, so that then you break down the legalese, you make references to the Constitution, and let people be able to see the link between what is being said and the documents that are being referenced in the case. This would have been a very good opportunity for media to, because there was so much data that was involved, and there was a lot of cross-referencing of various documents throughout the process. And this was an opportunity for media to be able to do a very good visual story, particularly in the print or in a multimedia in a multimedia format, where you point us towards, this is where, this is being drawn from, and hence this is the conclusion that is being derived at. Because the accusation for many lawyers is that they speak to themselves yet they serve they serve the public. So that for me was missing. The other challenge was that even where instances were there was an attempt to break this down by bringing legal experts into the studio to chime into that discussion. A number of those legal experts that were brought were already aligned to either NASA or to the Jubilee side of things. And what this means is that when they walk into a studio setup or a panel discussion, they tend to focus a lot more on their political affiliation or party position as compared to being able to objectively look at the issues that are being discussed. And so that's one area where, if media got lawyers that, were objective and were not, aligned to the two sides of this petition, I think Kenyans would have been a lot more informed and would have been at a vantage point in terms of being able to follow through the proceedings. One of the things that this whole election has done for us as a country is that it has put us on the map. I think everybody's looking at, and particularly within the continent, everybody's looking to Kenya for a sense of direction. And that direction also goes into what's the quality of journalism training within the region. Court reporting for the longest time is something that hasn't been done in most of the local universities. And in the few instances where it's done as a very highly specialized area of reporting. Many of the reporters who end up reporting on courts, fall back to it as, as a beat. And oftentimes, the people who end up reporting courts are, the novices within newsrooms, and not, the seasoned journalists. So one, for training institutions is to be able to upscale court reporting as an area of specialty and focus on it just like we focus on political reporting, because I think in this election there was a very clear connection between politics and the courts. So one is upscale court reporting as an area of specialization, specialized reporting, and focus on it. But two, that this court reporting cannot be taught in isolation. That one would need a lot of practical encounters within the courts with legal documents and with lawyers for them to be able to understand what's happening. The other thing is that I think this is an opportunity for institutions like media houses to mentor, their journalists or young reporters as they get into reporting, and particularly the courts, that there are people who have done this over and over again, and these people can actually then be able to mentor them into court reporting. So one of the things that is going to happen, at least for us at GSMC, is we will be looking at how that was covered. We hope to develop a case study around that then would inform future practices and future coverage of elections, especially elections that have a court component for it, because this is one election that the bulk of it actually played out in the courts. And our training for journalists as they prepared for election did not foresee that, hence did not build the capacity for reporters to be able to handle that adequately.